as Tim Jackson in the comments alluded to, it's about getting to zero, but really increasing access to PrEP and PEP through community pharmacies. It's House Bill 4430. We're joined by the House champion, Kelly Cassidy, Representative Kelly Cassidy. We're joined by some of the great advocates behind the bill, Timothy Jackson from AIDS Foundation Chicago, Bruce Lang from the Prairie Pride Coalition in Bloomington Normal, and Malia Arnold from Howard Brown and the Equality North Community Advisory Board. So just wanted to, Kelly, Representative Cassidy, I want to start with you. Why is House Bill 4430 important to you, and why is it important to the state?
Well, I'll start with Kelly is totally fine. I'm one of 7 children. I answer to the dog's name, frankly. But the work on 4430 on the PrEP and PEP access bill is important simply because, we have to be focused on the barriers and what we can do to take those barriers away. The folks like Tim, the medical community folks, they're responsible for getting that stuff into people's hands. But as legislators, our job is to make sure that we remove as many barriers as we can for as many people as we can. I don't just represent the 14th district. I represent the entire state of Illinois as one of a handful of openly queer members. I even doubly represent the entire state of Illinois and have a responsibility to ensure that my siblings have access to what they need to stay safe and alive. And this, it's not hyperbolic to say this bill will save lives. There's no exaggeration there at all.
Thank you. Thanks for championing the bill through the House. And I want to now turn it over to Tim, to Malia, to Bruce. Why is the bill important to you? And also extra question for Tim. What is getting to zero? And how does this bill fit in? So I guess I'm turning the question over to you now, Tim.
Sure. Well, thank you all so much. And thank you for Equality Illinois for inviting me to participate in this panel. I will tell you, Getting to Zero Illinois is, of course, a statewide plan to end the HIV epidemic by 2030. And we do that through 3 main ways. 1, increase access to PrEP and PEP, which we're going to talk about momentarily. 2, getting people who are living with HIV but not currently in care back into care. But then also 3, a renewed investment in the critical resources that people living with or vulnerable to HIV need in order to live their full lives. And so that's not just medical care, but that's supportive services, housing, things of that nature. And so both Representative Cassidy, Chris mentioned this as well, as we kind of talk about some of these barriers to why people are not accessing PrEP and PEP. We talk about cultural competency, we talk about stigma, we talk about medical mistrust. All of these are barriers. And how do we increase that access? And so basically what this bill does, it allows people to be able to go to their pharmacist under a standing order and be able to access PrEP and PEP. We know that these drugs are highly effective. And so to be able to allow people, you can go to your corner Walgreens, you can go pick up a birthday card, a pint of ice cream and your PrEP, and no one is ever the wiser. And so that's what we want to do. HIV obviously is very complex and nuanced, and our response to ending the HIV epidemic should be just as nuanced and complex. I'll wrap up by saying is, I was diagnosed with HIV in 2009, 3 years before PrEP became available for the first time in 2012. I wish I had this option. That's what this bill is trying to do, provide this option to more people.
Thank you, Tim. And Bruce and Malia, what would this piece of legislation, when it becomes law, because it will become law, what will it mean to the communities that you're part of and that you serve?
It's going to mean so much to the community. I honestly believe it's not just the HIV virus that kills people, it's the stigma that kills people too. And the depression that comes from worrying that no one might take the chance to love you because of some small piece of who you are. It can take people out. And our community has always been so much more than this virus. Those living with HIV are still beautiful, they're still handsome. And what HB 4430 is going to do is going to make it more accessible. And, you know, with having these kinds of conversations and continuing to educate folks that undetectable equals untransmittable, we're enabling our community to love one another, and we're helping to eliminate a totally unnecessary fear, which is HIV stigma.
I think a lot of what this bill speaks to is equity of access. It is very difficult for a lot of people to get a doctor's appointment in any reasonable time frame. The PEP portion of this law would allow people to get it just like people have been for years getting the morning after pill. Having it, and PEP works best if it's done quickly. It'll work up to 72 hours after, but if you get started on it before that, if you get the pills before that, it works better. The same with PrEP. You know, you have to be prepared, and I love the acronym because it makes me think prepared. And I'm sure somebody thought of that before I did. But I think pharmacists are indeed much more accessible to a wider range of the community than doctors are, no matter how good doctors are. You know, if I wanted to get an appointment with my doctor, and I've been his patient for 10 years or more, it would take a 2-month advance. And that just won't do with HIV PEP. We shouldn't have to wait that long. And a lot of people don't have the luxury of having a personal doctor like I do. I have Medicare and gap insurance, and that gets me through an awful lot, but it doesn't get me through any faster. If I were to need it quickly, the pharmacy is obviously the place to go because I already have a relationship with them. And again, it's access particularly for people of color, because doctors have not always been good to them. That may be a little overstatement, but that's, yeah, I agree, Tim. I'm not even sure that my doctor knows that I'm gay. He's never asked. And none of the things I've gone to him for had anything to do with it, so it's irrelevant in my treatment with him. But it shouldn't matter. But you know, I go to one of the how do I want to phrase this carefully? I go to, most of my doctors are part of a network that is connected to religious hospitals in my community, and I'm sure that myself and my other LGBTQ, etc. friends may have some occasional difficulties with some of the things I go to doctors in those networks with. Fortunately, I haven't, but I'm also considering changing to a different doctor just so that I don't have to even worry about that should it come up. But it's the access, it's the equity of access that this bill has to work for.
Thank you, Bruce and Malia. We've talked about the bill. What now? The bill passed the Illinois House. It's in the state Senate right now, where it's going to be championed by State Senator Mike Simmons. What in a minute or two have left for the panel, what can folks do to take action to make sure House Bill 4430 passes? And I'll start with Representative Cassidy and then go, everybody else can say.
Well, I mean, first of all, Bruce, I just want to carry you around in my pocket and have you talk to everybody about why this is important, because you nailed it. And in terms of getting this across the finish line, if you haven't already communicated with your state senator, please do so. ask your networks to do the same. We feel good. We are well positioned. There's not any opposition to it other than sort of the usual suspects, right? I love Tim, right? Them, who shall not be named. But I think that it is very, very helpful to make sure that you and everyone you know are letting your senators know how important this is to you, because this is a truncated session. It's really easy for stuff to fall through the cracks, and we want to make sure this doesn't do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, Rep. Cassidy, I would just add to that, spot on, just especially reach out to your senators, because this is an amended bill. It's going to go back to the House. So reach out to everyone, your state representative, your state senator. Make sure that you share with them how important this is to you, to your communities, and just really kind of relay that this is a large, chunk of how we get to zero. And so if you need any help, just feel free to reach out to me. Thank you all so much.
And we're making it really easy. Check your email. I don't know if it's at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, but everybody's going to get an action alert. Click this link to tell your senator to vote and support House Bill 4430. So I don't know if that's 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock. It's one of those two times. So check your email at both times, because there'll be an alert for another bill as well, the name change modernization bill as well. So thank you, everybody, for joining us with this panel. I know Representative Cassidy, I know session's starting, so we're going to have to get to session. So thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Tim, Malia, Bruce. And before I turn it over to our next speaker, I see Senator Vili Valem has joined us. And Senator Vili Valem, just as by way of introduction, is the champion for the healthcare cultural competency legislation that we heard about a little bit ago, and has also been a great champion of other pieces of LGBTQ affirming legislation, including in his first year in office, was the chief sponsor of the LGBTQ older adults bill that Kim and I talked about from 2019. So want to welcome Senator Vili Valem to say a few words for a minute or two about cultural competency and the work he's doing to affirm LGBTQ people in Illinois. So Senator Vili Valem, I'm going to make sure you're unmuted. So there we go.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Mike, for that kind introduction. And I apologize for the delay. And I want to assure everyone, as the chair of transportation, I am not driving. The vehicle is stationary. I just want to start by thanking everybody for their advocacy and their involvement in the legislative process. It's incredibly important that we hear from you all. We take into consideration how our policies are going to impact you on an everyday basis. And not only because it's the right thing to do, but also because we work for you, ultimately. The Illinois General Assembly members work for you as our residents in the state of Illinois. I'm proud of the work that we've done, whether it's the bill that Mike mentioned from my first session, where him and I worked together and work alongside a lot of number of organizations and residents in our state to make sure that our LGBTQ elders were aging with dignity, with respect, and not experiencing discrimination. That was incredibly important. To last year, where we took on the fight to make sure that we updated guidelines for personal health and safety education from kindergarten through 5th grade, sex education from 6 to 12, to ensure that our youth, given especially the last few years of seeing the national rhetoric and child sex abuse scandals and others, that they get the age appropriate, developmentally appropriate, medically accurate information we want them to get, and they deserve to get, they need to get, in order to feel inclusive, feel included, and make sure that we're teaching what we need to teach at our schools. That was an hour and a half long debate on the Senate floor, and it was interesting to say the least. And I will follow Representative Cassidy and say I will not speak of the opposition, but it was important that we got that through, and I'm proud of the work that was done there. I as with everything, believe we need to continue to move forward. We need to continue to make strides. And I think part of that stride is cultural competency in our healthcare system, ensuring that as we have folks in the LGBTQ community and other communities go to their healthcare providers, that our healthcare providers are prepared, our healthcare providers are taking into account and being educated themselves on how to interact, how to provide the best medical advice and so forth, and the appropriate and medically accurate advice as well. And so I'm proud of the work that was done to introduce this legislation. I also will say that I introduced and passed legislation similar to this, Senate Bill 677, that would require physicians to do an hour of training on dementia and Alzheimer's. So it can be done. We realize we have to recognize the problem and challenge, and we've offered a solution, and we have to move forward on passing that solution. So I strongly believe this is that next step that we continue to work on in terms of inclusivity. Inclusivity just can't be a word; it has to be an action. It has to be something that we look at in the Illinois General Assembly and continue to work on. So with that, thank you for accommodating me. I apologize for the delay. I'm gonna blame my frazzled hair on the wind outside, not just what I woke up with. And with that, I'll kick it back to you, Mike. Thanks again for having me.
Great. Thanks so much, Senator. Really appreciate you jumping on and for your leadership ever since when you took office in 2019. Also want to give shout outs. I don't know if they've been able to join us yet, but I want to give shout outs to State Senator Karina Villa, who is the champion of the older adults bill this year. Also want to give a shout out to State Senator Mike Simmons, who's the champion of the increasing access to PrEP and PEP bill. Also, I believe, I don't know if she's on, but I know State Senator Sarah Feigenholtz was going to join as well. I just want to give a shout out to Senator Feigenholtz, who's been a champion of LGBTQ equality. And I now, in our last few minutes, want to turn it over to one of my friends and a great vice chair of the Equality Illinois Board of Directors, Liz Stovall, to share a message and also some videos from some friends. So Liz Stovall, vice chair of the Equality Illinois Board of Directors.
Thanks, Mike. Hi, everyone. I'm Liz Stovall, Vice Chair of the Equality Illinois Board of Directors. I'm super excited to be with you today to take action and keep Illinois moving forward. I'm first here today to say a few thank yous and largely echo what Mike just said, but thank you to our amazing legislative champions, a few of whom we heard from today. So thank you, Senator Villa, Representative Collins, Senator Villi-Valum, Representative Aguilar, Senator Simmons, and of course, Representative Kelly Cassidy, and also Senator Feigenholtz. Thank you so much for your support. Thanks also to our amazing partners from Pride Action Tank, the Golden Rainbows of Illinois South, Illinois Unidos, Task Force, AIDS Foundation Chicago, Howard Brown Health, and the Prairie Pride Coalition. So we just heard about some important bills, but we also know it's not enough to just hear about the bills. We need to all take action. So we need to tell our state legislators to support these initiatives, to co-sponsor these bills, and of course to be our champions like our sponsors today. We see what's happening in states across the country. LGBTQ youth and trans youth especially are under attack in states across the country, from Florida, Texas, Idaho, Iowa, Kentucky, Missouri, Georgia. Unfortunately, that list really goes on. So we need to make sure Illinois stays a welcoming and affirming state, and we can't do that without your advocacy. So please check your email inboxes today. Open the email from Equality Illinois. I think it's coming from Momi, so watch for that. And do take action for the LGBTQ older adults bill, the healthcare cultural competency bill, the bill to increase access to PrEP and to PEP, the name change modernization bill as well. Together, we can keep Illinois moving forward. Okay, so now on to the blockbuster movie portion of our panel. So we have 2 special video messages from 3 more of our champions. We've got a video from Illinois Senate President Don Harmon and another video from Illinois House Speaker Chris Welch and House Majority Leader Greg Harris. So first we will hear from President Harmon.
Day. 3, 2. Thank you for letting me join your Advocacy Day. I want to congratulate Equality Illinois for the success it has had and continues to have in advocating for fundamental fairness for all the people of Illinois. The state we live in today is quite different in terms of awareness, inclusivity, and compassion than the Illinois we were part of 20 years ago. And you deserve credit for driving that change. Every advancement, every step forward has occurred because of the advocacy of Equality Illinois and the groundswell of support you've brought to the table. There's, of course, the groundbreaking Marriage Equality Act, but there's also the Safe Schools Act, the Panic Defense Ban, birth certificate modernization, and the list goes on and on. Now, as we emerge from this global pandemic that has taken so much from so many, we are again confronted with how society will look in a post-COVID world. If history is any indicator, Illinois will lead the way to a brighter, better future, and your advocacy will help us get there. Thank you. I hope you've had a great day, and I wish you all the best.
Okay, thank you, President Harmon. And now for our next video, we will hear from Speaker Welch and Majority Leader Harris.
Good afternoon. Although I cannot be with you in person, I am overjoyed to play a small role in Equality Illinois' 2022 LGBTQ Virtual Advocacy Day. There's much to celebrate when it comes to our great state, but perhaps one of our greatest achievements is the progress we have made regarding the rights and inclusion of the LGBTQ community. The voices of LGBTQ leaders, activists, and allies are powerful. Thanks to your tireless efforts, Illinois continues to see legislative achievements that make our state more welcoming and inclusive to LGBTQ individuals of all backgrounds. Just last year, the Illinois General Assembly passed bills to decriminalize the transmission of HIV, ensure comprehensive sexual health education, and to encourage inclusive business leadership. This was due in no small part to your strong voices and advocacy efforts. As states across the country introduce and pass legislation that openly discriminates against LGBTQ individuals, I reaffirm my commitment to the LGBTQ community to continue to make Illinois a state where everyone can thrive and live their truest selves. Illinois will remain an example for the rest of the nation to follow, so long as we are all still engaged in the fight for LGBTQ justice. The work is hard, but that is how we know it is worth doing. We work best when we work together. I look forward to seeing your continued advocacy this legislative session. Let's go to work.
Hi, I'm Greg Harris, Majority Leader of the House of Representatives here in Illinois, and I want to welcome everyone here to Advocacy Day. And this is a great day and it's a great week because exactly 5 years ago this week, we were reporting out of committee legislation that would allow trans people to correct their birth certificates. Illinois has always been a leader in protecting LGBTQ rights, but that's only because people like you are out there advocating and lobbying people like me to be sure it stays at the top of our agenda. Sadly, we've seen in so many other states, things are going in the opposite direction. We've seen punitive laws attacking LGBT youth and education and families. And the fact that this isn't happening here is due to work of folks like you. I'm proud to be a member of the gay community serving in the legislature, but it's more important than just having folks inside to have folks outside who are talking to their members every day about the importance of LGBTQ rights, about the respect we deserve, the respect our families deserve, and how we're present in every community. So I want to thank you for being here today. Thank you for raising your voices. Thank you for letting us know who you are so that we can see and hear you and hear about your families in communities across the state of Illinois.
Okay, thank you, Speaker Welch and Leader Harris. Okay, folks, so I think that about wraps it up. Please don't forget to check your email inboxes this afternoon and open the email from Equality Illinois. Take action for the name change modernization bill. That's House Bill 2542, and the increasing access to PrEP and PEP bill. That is House Bill 4430. So House Bill 2542 and House Bill 4430. And we hope you'll tune in at 5:30 for a conversation with representatives of the Legislative Black Caucus, the Latinx Caucus, and the Asian American Caucus. That should be a great session. So thanks everyone for your advocacy, and we will see you at 5:30.